past 24 hours have been very dramatic, with Nigerians becoming really emotional with this not very confirmed report of an army commander, Brigadier General Oba, allegedly being captured and executed by ISWAP terrorists. To a protest in Enugu State, precisely the community where the Enugu State Governor, Mr. Peter Mbak, comes from, the villagers are protesting the overtaking of their community by military officers. So there's been some sort of distraction, and they are calling on the government to come to their aid. Also, in different parts of the country and in the political circle, there is the Wadata Plaza friction. That's what I call it. You know, the Kabiru Turaki-led PDP chairmanship and the faction he leads, and the faction that Anyangu and I say the suspended Anyangu and suspended FCT Minister Yeso Wike belong to have both fixed meetings for today at the PDP Secretariat situated at the Wadata Plaza, Abuja. Attorney would like to refer to Wike as the landlord of Abuja. And yesterday, Turaki went to the police to inform the police of the planned meeting, and also, in his words, in a bid to prevent any friction and breakdown of law and order. I'd get to play you an audio of what Turaki said yesterday. You get to hear directly from the horse's mouth. Sadly, on Sunday, reports were confirmed yesterday. Kebbi State is the hotbed of insecurity presently, as 25 students have been abducted from a secondary school, a senior secondary school in Kebbi State. Safe to say that the school kidnapping that we started witnessing in 2014 with the Chibok girls down to the Genjebe school kidnapping, we've had students kidnapped in their numbers, 300s, 200s, Kebbi 25 on Sunday, and all of these we definitely get to make sense of on today's edition of the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinidu, and of course, Dr. Olisa Mbeki is going to be here with me in a couple of minutes to do justice to all of the matters on our desk this morning. First, I'll tell you what the front pages of the newspapers say on our desk today. Just like every other day, we have the Nation newspaper, the Guardian, the Punch, and Vanguard newspapers. And starting with the Nation newspaper, some of the headlines here: the major one, Tinubu orders manhunt for abductors, rescue of 25 pupils. And of course, this story has some riders. Vice principal killed during dawn attack on Kebbi Girls School. We will bring them back, says governor. As at the time of this incident, the governor of that state was out of town, but the deputy governor of the state was sent to go see what was happening in that school and access it. The government is promising to bring back the girls. Declining inflation raises hope of lower interest rates. CPI drops to 16.05%. Taraba Speaker, 16 lawmakers. Ex-Kogi Governor Idris Wada defect to the APC. That's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And factions head for showdown at PDP Secretariat. Different camps plan meetings for National Secretariat. Turaki, Wike, Anyanwu, others remain expelled. That's Turaki saying that Wike, Anyanwu, and others are expelled. And Anyanwu said in an interview that was conducted on Sunday and aired yesterday that he does not recognize any expulsion. As a matter of fact, as according to him, the convention where he was expelled is an illegality, and therefore any decision from an illegality does not stand. He still sees himself as the custodian of the Wadata Plaza. That's the secretariat of the PDP. We'll keep you updated with everything that eventually happens there today. We are hoping that it doesn't degenerate into something really sad that would, probably have blood being spilled. But of course, we'll keep you updated. And this writer says This story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Lagos 200 billion naira bond oversubscribed by 55% on page 7. Federal government to hire new health fellows on page 2. Obasanjo Fayose back at war. That's on page 3. Tributes flows journalism icon Agbese dies at 81. That's on page 30. Wike and the Rule of Law by J.B. Dauda on page 11. President salutes Oyebamiji at 60. On page 3, speaking about Fayose and former President Olusegun Obasanjo, just a couple of weeks ago, they gave us the impression that they have mended fences. And at Fayose's birthday, the former president said he is not one of the best of his political sons, but he cannot deny the fact that the man has done really good for himself. Well, Fayose didn't like that statement, and he went to war with his father, quote and off quote. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper. Mass defections, Ndume predicts implosion in APC on page 3. On page 3, genocide, US lawmaker alleges Tinubu lying, protecting own interest. PDP crisis may consume 2 governors, others as factions fix parallel meetings. On page 3, declining food prices, firmer Naira pull inflation to 15% national target. That's on page 6. Security fears deepen over schoolgirl's abduction, slain general amid new assaults on page 6. I've gone through the military, the Nigerian Army's Twitter handle. I haven't seen anything concerning this statement, this allegation that Brigadier General Uba was captured and slain by ISWA. But of course, I haven't also seen this on major tabloids, blogs, Sahara reporters, but we are waiting for some concrete confirmation. Obasanjo Fayose trade words over birthday fallout on page 4. Media wordsmith Dan Agbese dies at 81 as LNC others mourn on page 5. NIMSI issues 124 million NIMS as poorer interagency relations store data harmonization on page 15. 16 Taraba PDP lawmakers join APC ahead of Kefas on page 30. Wike military land feud. Dauda insists on rule of law. And this one is on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. To the Punch now. Obasanjo Fayose reignite old enmity, trade insults on page 30. Mass abductions return. This is the banner headline. 145 missing in 4 days. On page 2, kidnapped Kebbi schoolgirls. Zamfara. Niger villager search intensifies. Atiku PDP react. FG pledges swift rescue. 2024 Capital Project Store 2026 budget plans on page 33. Inflation hits 3-year low at 16.05% on page 33. PDP headquarters showdown marking day. Wike factions hold rival next sessions today. On page 40, Tinubu calls for a corruption-free judiciary at judges' conference. And FG receives Benin bronzes. FG receives Benin bronzes repatriated from US. On page 36, tension as Lagos street urchins stab Air Force officer. On pages 4 and 5, Lagos bond subscription hits 310 billion naira. On page 34. To the Vanguard, where we see the banner headline on page 5 being how bandits kidnapped 25 Kebbi schoolgirls. The riders killed vice principal in deadly attack. Please confirm Kebbi school invasion. Abduction barbaric, condemnable. That's from Kebbi State Governor. Tinubu orders rescue of 25 abducted schoolgirls. Atiku condemns attack, advises of G to strengthen security architecture. Gunmen abduct ex-Insubeb's father. Nasarawa communities thrown into panic. Also, PDP tension as factions battle for Wadata Secretariat on page 26. Taraba Speaker, 15 PDP Assembly members defect to APC on page 13. Tension in Enugu communities. Governor Mbas kinsmen protest alleged military invasion on page 20. On page 8, food inflation still rising but at slower pace on page 19. Babio, Mark, Shehu, others mourn as media icon Dan Agwese dies at 81 on page 7. Tinubu to judiciary. Justice must never be for sale. On page 9 yesterday, President Bola Tinubu spoke. Also, we heard him speaking a lot about how the judiciary is one of the biggest tools we need to action the change that we desire. But of course, we'll get to dig into that matter much later on the show. Pope warns against escalating violence, persecution against Christians in Nigeria. We told you about what he said on Sunday yesterday. On page 8, Nicki Minaj to address UN on alleged persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Quite interesting times, I must say. We're going to the conversation proper. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki is here to do justice to all of the matters on our desk. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Onitsha, Sumogu. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure to be here. And just like I always do say, we are back in our sanctuary to do the work of the Lord. And remember for sure that the work is not an easy one. And that's why we always implore the mercies and forgiveness of the Almighty God in everything we do. Because without Him, we know we cannot do as much as we would have wanted to do as a human. It's important that we look at issues dispassionately and possibly try to learn something out of it. I have always said this is where we learn. It's a learning arena, and it's not about where we throw jabs and all manner of things, but we learn and we get something from whatever we look at all time. You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Absolutely. We're going to be starting from home, talking about the Southeast, and that's Enugu precisely, where we are learning that there is tension because the army, according to the monarch, that's the Igwe of this community, is threatening to take over the locations of the King's Palace and the governor's ancestral home. This is happening in Owo, the hometown of Enugu State Governor, Dr. Peter Mba. I hope I got that name correctly. People from there, please don't crucify me. According to reports yesterday, the staged a peaceful protest over invasion of that community. The Nigerian army, which carried out the invasion, according to this report by the Vanguard, also destroyed property and vowed to take over the community's ancestral lands by force. The community members lamented the alleged act of intimidation and misuse of security assets entrusted to them by the Constitution to carry out these acts, despite a court injunction restraining the army from entering the large expanse of community land, calling on President Tinubu to come to their rescue. And of course, Tony, let's start with the beginning of this matter, because a lot has been said. And when things like this happen, some reports say this actually started as far back as November 2015, all right, when the community woke up to what they call the rude shock of military occupation, with their buildings marked remove, army land, keep off. And so it has lingered, and the destruction that we saw over the weekend actually, and before even then, has been, back and forth. It happens, there are resolutions, there's even a court order on this case. What do you make of it? Not just generally, but of course, I'm curious to find out now the place of the military in things like this. I mean, isn't the government supposed to be the one providing land for military occupation? Do they have to do that themselves?
I think you ask salient questions. These are things we always try to teach here, but we'll keep doing our own. And it's a case of land. And we have said over time that land matter or land matters, as the case may be, is completely civil. It's not something you grab through arms or intimidation, harassment. It's good that this is resurfacing. When we are talking about what happened between the young Lieutenant Rima and Wike, I emphasize this point. But one thing about Nigerians is the fact that they try to validate or invalidate anything based on the persons involved, not based on the matters as they relate to law. Their interest is usually who are involved. They indict or they pass judgment on those involved, not really on the issues. But that's by the way. Let's go back to the issue in question. The land in question, there have been these claims. Nigerian army, for long, they have been claiming ownership of that very land. The Nigerian army says that it acquired the disputed land around the 1970s. And according to the army, unknown persons later encouraged on that land setting up new survey beacons. Then on the part of the community, the local communities, Mbulowo and Owo in Nkano East local government area, strongly contest the army's claim. And they said parts of the lands are their ancestral territory. In May 2025, a high court in Enugu issued an injunction against the army and the Ministry of Defense, ordering them to vacate truckloads of soldiers from the disputed land. And the court also restrained the army from entering or laying siege on the land while the legal case continues. But even after the court's ruling, residents claim the army returned and resumed patrolling and surveying the land, according to some residents. And videos circulating on social media reportedly show armed soldiers active in that area. The communities have publicly asked the army to obey the court's order and leave. But you look at, in a joint inspection, the Enugu State Ministry of Lands reportedly found no survey beacons on the ground that match the ones listed in the Army's surveys plan. In fact, this raises serious question about how legitimate the Army's claim is according to the state government. But the Army, on its own part, they insist on its documentation, and they also insisted that their claims on the issue of beacons were correct, just that these beacons, according to them, were tampered with or replaced by others who don't like their own side of the story. So, for me, this has shown a broader political and power dynamics, and some locals accuse Igbo Kekarum, the traditional ruler, of being heavily involved and possibly leveraging political power to influence land dealings.
At this point, I'm lost, and I bet a lot of persons are going to be asking the same question. Is this a case of the Igwe masquerading? Because he also spoke to the press, and he said this has been going on for quite some time now, and the army has even threatened to take over his palace, shrine sites, literally every part of the community. And so is he a part of the entire scheme? And there he is complaining that he's affected as well.
It depends, on who is telling the story. There is a kind of complicity about the story. But if you ask me, if I'm to get involved directly in this case, I would first and foremost ask this question: who sold the said land to the army? Can they give us their papers on how they acquired the land and its documentation and everything about it? But the matter is in court. Hope you're aware.
Give me a second. Right. How does the army acquire land? Let's start from there.
Of course, they acquire land through different processes. Sometimes there are ones given to them by the community freely. And if that is the case, there will be documentation about it. There will be deed of
assignment,
conveyance.
Yeah, that's the word.
There will be deed of conveyance showing that the community has transferred the ownership of the said land to the military. And possibly, and they will also go as much as getting CFO from the government through proper registration and documentation. So you ask yourself this question: was this properly done? And if the community is giving you land, who is also case to write it? On whose back would the community do that? Because every community has president general and also traditional ruler. They must be on the same page. Situation where traditional ruler gives a land that belongs to the community to anybody or individual. It can be disputed. Because on the contrary, he may not have that unilateral power to give a community land to anybody he feels or he wishes, that does whatever he likes. Community lands belongs to the entire community, not to the Igwe nor to the PG. So if the community is actually the one doing this, they must come in unison, both the traditional ruler, both the president general, and the members of the community. It will be something that they should also relate to everyone in the community. So I have also explained how these lands can also be got. Army can also buy lands. But we've seen over time that they would also prefer a free land. That had always been their preference. Because for them to buy land, it means that it must be strategic to whatever operations they want to mount. So, having said this, the issue in question, what is going on in Owo, is not just a local chieftain land issue. This involves military making claims, which raises the stakes. But if you look at army, they have argued that they are defending their strategic or legitimately acquired land. How legitimate is the land? And is a matter before the court. And when court has given order, why wouldn't you obey the court order? Court has given order vacate. Why the issue is still pending before the court? So, and the court has also ordered that you take your truckload of soldiers away from the said land. The truth remains that, just like I have always said, Nigeria is a lawless country. Institutions don't obey law. Nobody obeys law. People chooses, or individuals, and people choose the side of the law that favors them, and they try to obey it. And that's exactly what we saw at the convention of PDP. Everybody chooses the kind of law that suits whatever.
We'll get to the convention of the PDP.
But that's by the way. And you also look at what happened in the case of Irima and Wike, where a retired naval officer dispatched some soldiers to go and guard land.
So are you by any means saying that we have this overreaching influence of the military in certain things in the country?
I have said it many times. Military, police, and security agencies should know their bounds. They are law curation. They are curated by the law. They should know their bounds. They should know their boundaries. You know, just like I said earlier on, their interference in land matters should be put on check. It is a civil matter. If you have a land dispute, it is wrong for soldiers to be deployed there. Over what? These are matters that will be settled in court. The presence of soldiers there really reminds us of the time we were in military government.
What do you recommend for
I've always said it many times. Since the matter is before the court, the soldiers should disappear from the said land. They should vacate and allow the court to conclude this process, because they have
compensates the locals for the destruction so far.
If there is a different ball game again, because if there are destructions, the locals should file a suit against the army. They cannot take laws into their hands. If the military invaded that very community and they orchestrated damages and destructions, they should file a suit at the state high court and also bring those evidence before the court. It is before the court that all parties will state their own claims. We cannot operate a lawless society. And most times when we sit down here to teach people on the way things should be, they try not to understand, honestly speaking. And I've always said, and you can also look at different portions of the law, the Land Use Act. You can also talk about so many things. And the other day we were here, I was looking at situations where a criminal breach can come into land dispute. And at that point, police comes in, not even the military. Once there is a criminal breach in land dispute, police comes in on that angle, on that peripheral of that criminal breach, not on the dispute itself. The dispute itself must be before the civil court. Any dispute, claims and counterclaims about the ownership of land is purely civil. But the criminal aspect of it, police treat it, and it does not affect the ownership. That somebody, comes into a land, makes tracks, and then possibly, trespasses dangerously in a way to harm the other, police will take that aspect. It will not affect the ownership, who owns or who does not own. No, it doesn't affect the ownership. But the criminal aspect of it, that's the one they take up. But they don't also get themselves involved in the ownership. Everything about ownership of a land is something that is subject before a civil court.
All right.
So deploying soldier whenever there is a land dispute is antithetical to any democracy. It is done here. We have been seeing it. And for the fact that it has been a culture here does not validate it, does not make it right. That's why we keep condemning that. Drawing back from what happened in Abuja. I condemn seriously the deployment of soldiers. I even condemn the young officer for even accepting to be used as a guard to a land after passing through the Nigerian Defense Academy and everything we are taught. The only thing is to be deployed as a guard to a land.
Let's not go into that. Because it's been. I like to think of a stretch. Speaking about the said soldier, yesterday there was a video circulating. I was asking myself, now POS they take to this video because I couldn't really see the guy's face really well. But the report has it that was Yerima. He got into an altercation with some police officers. He said he's an officer. And he didn't want to show them his papers or ID card and all that. And then he had no number plates and people were asking questions. How right is it to drive without number plates for starters?
I think, when we brought this issue here, I dismissed it because nobody has spoken. Now the police spokesperson, if I can remember her name, in Abuja, she has spoken. And it's a private matter. And you can't see military getting involved. Because I saw the video. Josephine Ade. I saw the video. And one thing about us, we are mostly not ready to learn. And I saw comments. Yes, the young man first covered his number plate. He covered it. Not that he had no number plate. It was covered. And he was stopped at a police checkpoint. There was a fracas because police was trying to ask him to identify himself, but of which he later did. But according to the police spokesperson, Abuja Police Command, she said that the identification came after the young officer made a call where 3 naval officers came to identify him.
Before you proceed, Tony, I just went to Josephine Ade's Twitter handle.
Yeah.
And I'll read what she wrote.
Please read it.
She said, the attention of the FCT Police Command has been drawn to the publication circulating on social media. Okay, this is about the alleged assassination. This, she said, never happened. And she hasn't made a statement on the supposed altercation he had with police officers. She only made a statement on the allegations of him trying to be some assassins trailing him.
No, I think the release she issued was on the issue of assassination.
That's what I'm saying.
So, and the assassination in view is now linked to Yerima. I'm just trying to find a source because I can't quote him if the statement did not come from him. People cannot put words into somebody's mouth. How did the issue of assassination comes into picture? Because according to some sources, and I don't like saying sources, I like specifically pointing to a source.
Let's make this clear, Tony. I was asking you earlier about the videos that made rounds yesterday, and they were alleging that he got into an altercation with police officers on stop and search duties, and he was refusing to identify himself. All he said was, I am an officer. And at the point he produced his ID card, they eventually had the matter settled and all of that. That's an entirely different issue. And you said Josephine wrote on it. I was trying to say that, no, Josephine didn't. The only thing Josephine spoke about was the Sunday's incident about an alleged assassination attempt.
I think the alleged assassination attempt, from the look of things, Josephine Ade, the FCT police
spokesperson,
she made statement there was a release, and I read it.
And she said it was all false. So we are clearing that out of the table.
No, she was saying that there was never assassination.
Okay, it wasn't reported.
And it was at that altercation that issue of assassination comes in. They are the same matter. They are not different. the same matter. So it was the same matter because from the look of the things, immediately the altercation happened. A fake surfaced on social media, and where it was alleged that Yerima was saying that he was trailed by some unknown persons, that he escaped assassination attempts. Now it was on social media. Later on, Lembre or Layinka, the Wike's spokesperson, was able to draw our attention to that, where he said, how can you be talking about assassination when you had confrontation with police officers? How does having confrontation with police officers translate to being assassination? And when Olayinka Lenre made that very statement, we also dismissed it because we don't know where all these things were coming from.
Yeah, so I asked you a question.
It was at the point where Josephine Ade cleared the whole thing, saying there was altercation between Lieutenant Yerima and police officers at police checkpoints. And during that altercation, she made us understand what transpired. That altercation had nothing to do with assassination. Who now claimed, or who now said that he was trailed or was being, trailed by assailant, or he escaped assassination? Because if you look at it, his plate number, just like you said, was covered. The two plate numbers were covered. And where he was stopped, according to the video we saw, there was an altercation before he was able to show his ID card to the police at the checkpoint. But the statement from Josephine Ade says that he was identified by 3 naval officers that came at the scene. That's according to the statement I read. And I know some of us must have also read that very statement. That at that point he was allowed to go. So now, coming on the issue of law, you asked an important question. Has he any right to cover his plate numbers? The answer is no. He has no right.
He's not the first. You know why I asked you this question? Because it's something that's Yerima is not the only one culpable of this.
We have it, but it does not mean. But we must. That's what I'm saying. Do we make our judgment because it is everywhere, or do we make our judgment based on the position of law? So
what does the law say on this, and what are the mechanisms for enforcement?
And if you look at covering of plate number, as the case may be, we have known very well it could be both criminal and then traffic offense. So plate number covering, but I know very well that it's just with proper identification. These matters could also be resolved. So vehicle plate number covering is something that, police will tell you that kidnappers, all these robbers, they do cover to avoid any tracing, to avoid any tracking. So it becomes important that to aid security, plate numbers must not be covered. And for them,
most VIPs have covered number plates. Most VIPs.
You call them VIPs. For you to cover your plate numbers, you must also get police permits. And in that permit, you must disclose the reason behind such covering. Because if you are covering your plate number for security reasons around you, you must get a permit.
Okay.
You must get a permit. So it becomes important that police is in the know that you have your plate numbers covered.
Clear.
Where you unilaterally cover your plate number with the feeling that you are being trolled, it is both criminal and traffic breaches. And
in this matter, we cannot tell the exact reasons, but like I said, a lot of people who are supposedly in certain stratas in the society do this. We're not going to dwell on this because something really important happened in Kebbi State. That's about the abduction of 25 schoolgirls. Yeah. Now, we started with these abduction stories as far back as 2014. We had the abduction of the Chibok girls, and it was of great concern to the average Nigerian, and most importantly, to the Nigerian woman and girl child. I recall the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. We were later told that the girls were married off to these insurgents. These were kids who all they ever wanted to do was to learn. And these children were made to bear children, just to, keep them. And as we speak, I recall Leah Sharibu, that's her name, Leah Sharibu, that's her name if I'm not mistaken, still hasn't returned. And some reports have it that some of these girls eventually even, trauma bonded with their captors. And when they got a chance to, they said, you know what, I'd rather just stay here. And, to think that things like this happen and these people who do this are still left to even have a say in this is an entirely different matter. And now from the Chibok girls that happened in 2014, we had the case of the Dapchi girls, or the Dapchi Government Girls Science Technical College. Yes, that happened in 2018. We had 110 girls. This happened on the 19th of February 2018. By 20 December, we had the Kankara school incident that had 303 students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State, taken into captivity. Then also we had the Jengebe school incident, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, Jengebe happened in February 2021. We had 317 schoolgirls from the Government Girls Science Secondary School, Jengebe, in Zamfara State abducted. There have been several of them. At a point, I recall the Inspector General of Police, I think the previous one, set up a school protection corps. Right. And we're often asked, what is happening? Are they really working? Why are students still being taken from the one place they should be safe? As a matter of fact, the vice principal of that school tried to swing into action and he was killed, and 25 kids who only wanted to learn, Tony, have been captured. Also not forgetting the fact that in the past few days, there's been abductions here and there. There is an incident there are incidents across different parts of the country. We have Zamfara, we have Niger in the past 4 days, as a matter of fact. And so the question is, what is really happening?
What is happening is the same thing we have been talking about, the same thing United States of America has been talking about, the same thing many Nigerians have been talking about: insecurity. That is what is happening. And where there has not been any clear intent of purpose in stamping out what has turned out to be the most cancerous issues we have in our land. Yes, on 17th November, today, by date is, I think
today's 18th. It happened in the early hours of yesterday, say midnight Sunday, exactly, down to early morning.
That was
Monday.
Yesterday.
Yes.
We are gunmen in their numbers. Most times, they mobilize with trucks, motorcycles, and some other things.
It beats me how they are able to move. You know what it means for people to convey 317 people. It means what's the largest number of, what's the highest number a bus can take? Do you get my point? You need actually very big vehicles, or maybe very small ones, to move this number of people. And you do this unstopped. Tony, do you know what that means?
So when we say that we need state police, local government police, and community police, if we have these people on ground, these terrorists may not have the field day to move from one local government to the other, and from one locality to the other. So just like I was about saying, it's important we understand how some of these things happen. And like I was saying yesterday, Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, MAGA, in Danko, Wasago local government area of Kebbi, where it's happened anyway. These terrorists, they were shooting sporadically. They were armed with sophisticated weapons, AK-47 rifles, and other dangerous weapons. First and foremost, they came in and killed Malam Hassan Makako, who was the vice principal, and they went away with 25 female students from the dormitory. This was supposed to be a boarding school, and one would have asked, we had safe school initiatives project during the time of Jonathan. What happened to that project? What happened to that initiative?
It was even there during the time of Barry,
where it was said that all the schools in the northern part of the country that are boarding schools must have security presence. They must have security prisons. And the funds, donations were made to ensure that since we can't provide security, since we cannot think out with our constitution to know that we have many spaces unpoliced, ungoverned spaces, because of our political wishes, we would prefer that these people, Nigerians, are subjected to what they're passing through. And if you look at the very area, very vast land space, now, but immediately these bandits, terrorists, went away with about 25 students. The next we heard was that the police has deployed a joint search and rescue operation.
There was even a report that the police tried to engage them.
No, they were where? Did they sight them? Did they sight them at what point? You only engage who you saw. Mm-hmm. When you were far away from when they were far away from where the issue and maybe the incident happened. So the thing is that they told us that they have deployed their tactical units, military personnel and local vigilantes, that they have been combing bandits routes nearby forests to try to locate the kidnappers and rescue the girls. And the federal government on their own part, the presidency has issued orders to security and intelligence agencies to intensify efforts to bring them. But it's not about being reactive. We have never been proactive. As a country.
Give me
as
a second,
people.
Tony. I've been thinking, what is the geographical positioning of Kebbi? What states border Kebbi?
If you look at Kebbi is a northwest geopolitical zone. And it has border with most of the states there, Jigawa, you talk about Sokoto, Zamfara. These are some of the states. Because
when the police said that we are coming nearby forests, I've been thinking, what if they took these kids and they went into neighboring states, especially where we have a lot of these northwestern states having vast ungoverned spaces? They could be anywhere.
In fact, just like you said, where are they combing? It's a very important question. Because are they combing the border with Sokoto State? Because I know Kebbi State is border to Sokoto to the north and northeast, and then it has also a border with the Zamfara State to the east. It has border with even Niger State to the south, and also has border with Niger Republic. That's international border to the north,
and that's also a possibility.
And also, it has border with Benin Republic.
Interesting.
So these are Kebbi State, for instance. So if you look at it, Kebbi State has approximately 36,800 square kilometer, and it makes it one of the largest states in Nigeria in terms of land area. I'm just trying to let you know a state with such land spaces. So it's important that we tell ourselves the truth.
Now, before you tell us this truth, let's attend to some commercials. We'll don't take that thought. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Ụlọ ọrụ Enugu Electricity Distribution Company EEDC na-agwa ndị ahịa ya na ha ebidola ikesa mita ọkụ n'efu n'okporo Trench B nke Meter Acquisition Fund NERC kwadoro. Ebumnuche nke usoro a bụ imechi ohere ndị na-aka enwetabeghị mita maka ndị ahịa Band A nke EEDC na ụlọ ọrụ ya ndị ọzọ Main Power, Transpower na New Era Electricity Distribution Limited. Mita bụ n'efu, enyekwala onye ọbụla ego maka mita. Biko gaa Customer Service Unit nke District Office gị ka inye nọmba ekwentị na adreesị gị. Ndị ọrụ EEDC ga-akpọ gị site ozi inyere ha. Maka ozi ndị ọzọ kpọọ akara 0208 470 0100 maọbụ zipụ ozi na WhatsApp na 0707 461 0095 maọbụ 0707 461 0088. EEDC.
Ike ọkụ na-enye ihe na South East.
Hello, my brother. Hello? Bro, how far now?
They waiting this up now.
Now my tenants, they won't finish me. They don't pay rent. Wahala every day. Papa, the way you get supposed to give me joy. You don't wahala.
Yeah, my brother, you need to upgrade to A sharply.
Guy, another agent I beg, I don't want. Agent that they are wahala and 5 and 6.
Sure, you never try Assoja Assets now. The best from in property management. See, since I carry my houses, give them. Nah, so I they enjoy peace of mind like this. Them they handle rent collection, tenant screening, maintenance, everything. I just they relax, they watch my investment, they grow like this.
You know me now? You mean I pay avoid all these shit finish with tenants?
Now, correct. Assoja Assets go manage all your property worries. Them they professional, transparent, and reliable.
My friend, will you get out? Now see finish the cost of this nonsense. No worry. Assoja Assets they come. Una go soon hear out.
Why stress when Assoja Assets feel run am for you? For property management, tenant services, and real estate solutions, call Assoja Assets today on 0904 0422 240 or 0906 8205 058 or visit our office at number 8 Niger Drive, GRA Onitsha, Anambra State. Forget your from house agents and trust the experts at Assoja Assets for your peace of mind. Assoja Assets, managing property, multiplying value. When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
All right, before you get involved, let's round off on today's conversation. Tony, let's round off on the security matters, your recommendations, and then we head over to the firestorm brewing in the political stage.
Yeah, I was actually talking about what happened in Wasago, Danko local government area of Kebbi State, and where we are trying to make some projections and estimations and why there was no intervention resistance from the security agencies when the kidnapping incident happened. And I must let you know that that very local government is about 4,844 square kilometer, more like it's just like approximately Anambra State, the local government in size. And then approximately the local government in size is approximately the size of Anambra State in landmarks, but they have a very smaller population. Their population is about 265,000. And then I wonder, there is no local government in Anambra State that has such a lesser number. So you have situations where you have more people in the local government, but the landmarks is so small. So you have such a number. That number, 265,000, that's the population according to recent estimates of the people in that very local government. And I was told that a police station was newly commissioned in that local government, that it was newly commissioned. But it happened that the distance between the police station that was newly commissioned and the school, the comprehensive girls school, is about 7 kilometers. That's a very long distance. So it tells you, when you talk about swift response, why it would always be like that. So the point I'm trying to make is, we've seen insecurity thriving, and it has become an industry. It has become a business for some people. It is not surprising that we saw a situation where a house member was seen negotiating with bandits, negotiating with terrorists, to free those that were kidnapped. And it is just one of those things we keep saying from time to time. And it tells us a lot of things. Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, who is a high-profile Islamic cleric, has somehow festers this very monster that is consuming us. Because most times when it comes out, he will find a way to tell us that we need to negotiate with these people. And I've been strongly against such negotiations. And we've seen where he's taking us. Because if you negotiate today, you will keep negotiating, you will keep settling. Is that the kind of country we want to run as a nation? And the situation where the president will give the military and police the marching order to go for these people, there are things we can do. Many spaces are ungoverned. In most northern places, they have the land, but they may not have the population, as the case may be. So they have some of these spaces that could have been easily be used for agricultural purposes, but they have been converted into kidnapping industry. That tells you how backward we are as a nation. It is important that we will stand tall against all manner of insecurity, but not the way we are going about it. Not the way we are going about it, because if we keep on going the way we are going about it, we have no end in sight. There will be no end in sight. This kid that we are reading out different kidnapping cases, different school invasions.
In the last 4 days, a lot has also happened. Give or take 145 people taken from different parts of the north in the last 4 days.
Remember what happened early in 2025?
Sorry to butt in there. About 16 security officials were killed. I think in Niger State, 45 people were kidnapped as well.
So the numbers keep thriving, keep increasing, keep getting staggering. My point is, the approach is wrong. We must go back to drawing board. Do we really want to stamp out banditry, insecurity, terrorism? Do we really want to stamp that out? If we want to in fact, it is one of the talking points that would also constitute our national discussion. Let's come together. Why don't we have these situations where states should have whatever it takes to protect itself, to protect its existence, and where the federal comes to support situations where they are handicapped or they cannot protect themselves? Cannot. In fact, it is mind-boggling that we keep pretending, living in denial. We are just interested in image laundering, trying to go to United States of America and tell them that Christians are not killed the way they. These things are immaterial. The most important thing is to stop kidnapping, stop killing. That's the most important thing.
Those are the two most important things. Stop our girls being taken from schools. All we want to do is learn, and not to be forced to become wives, and not to be forced to starve. And you know how traumatizing kidnapping is, and having to be made to do all sorts while in your captor's den. I really hope that these girls don't come out scarred, and I hope the government does everything possible to get them out of the claws of these elements as soon as possible. While we wait for official confirmations about reports concerning what happened to Brigadier General Oba, I'm pretty sure that you have heard that he was kidnapped or abducted by ISWAP terrorists and has been executed, but that hasn't been confirmed. We keep our fingers crossed, hoping that that's also a falsehood, because it's really scary and mind-boggling to think of it. Some persons claim there is a video out there of that execution. I couldn't bring myself to watch such madness, but we're waiting on the military to say something. Yesterday, the PDP factions, the Turkey-led faction, and what I call the Wike loyal faction, both have scheduled meetings at the Wadata Plaza. Hear Turaki for yourselves, and then we go into discussing all of the political dynamics, the emerging incidents. Obasanjo and Fayose are at each other's necks, and I mean, what kind of son fights his father, though?
I don't know where to begin. Probably
let's listen to Turaki first.
Okay.
I am thinking something is wrong with the. Okay. So.
That we are having our meeting tomorrow, and this will be the inaugural meeting since we left Ibadan after our election.
Permit me to take this back a bit.
Elective convention. This will be the inaugural meeting since.
Okay. This is.
As the law-abiding people, we've come here to tell the police that we are having our meeting tomorrow, and this will be the inaugural meeting since we left Ibadan after our election at our National Elective Convention. Now, we have seen flying in the social media a purported notice of BOT and NEC meeting given by people who, for all intent and purposes, are no longer members of this party as I'm talking to you today. And so we have reported the moves they are making to the police, because we don't want any situation where there will be breach of peace. As leaders, more than any other person, we want peace to be sustained. Our meeting is 10 a.m. tomorrow. Circulars have gone out. We shall be there unfailingly. I, as the national chairman of PDP, will be leading from the front, not from the rear. I have assured the Commissioner of Police of the FCT that while we will ensure that no breach of the peace occurs, we will go there prepared to defend ourselves and our integrity as Nigerians, because Nigerian Constitution has given us the right to defend our persons, our lives, our properties, so that we are prepared to do. And let me reiterate again for avoidance of doubt, to defend our party, to defend this nascent democracy, we are prepared to lay down our lives.
I think that's the biggest thing that Turaki said yesterday. To defend this democracy, they are prepared to lay down their lives. Now, backstory here, a little backstory. The PDP convention held in Oyo State, Ibadan, precisely over the weekend, 15th and 16th of November 2025. This particular convention is one that has been trailed with a lot of illegalities. Reports of a federal high court saying stop, and then a state high court saying go ahead. And so for that same reason, the likes of Samuel Anyango have decided to say that the PDP convention is an illegality, and as such, whatever decisions that we are made at that convention are not binding on himself and his other friends, or would I call it I was going to say coven members, but his other cohorts who were suspended. Talk about the likes of Nyesom Wike, Turner, and a couple of other persons. I think about 11 or 15 of them on that list. And so the big question at this point now, Tony, is what is expected? Anyanwu said he's still the custodian of Wadata Plaza, bearing in mind that his tenure is supposed to expire by December of this year, and so today is 18th of November. He's still legally supposed to be the national secretary of the PDP, taking charge of the secretariat. And like you would always say, the faction leader, Nyesom Wike, is the landlord of the FCT. We are monitoring the news. It's already 15 minutes past 10 o'clock to see what has started happening at Wadata Plaza. But what are your expectations, Tony?
Samuel Anyanwu has arrived because Lere Olayinka has shared a video.
Amazing.
I just streamed it now, where he made an arrival at the National Secretariat of the PDP. And when Taroki is saying that he's going to lead from front, that he's going to lay his life for the survival of democracy, I think he met the wrong person going to meet FCT commissioner. He did not even meet the Inspector General of Police. He did not even meet the service chiefs. He did not even meet the National Security Advisor. He went and met Commissioner of Police that takes instruction from these people. The Commissioner of Police at this point will be handicapped.
Anyanwu said the police at Wadata Plaza, as we speak, was the one that his faction brought.
And that's what I'm saying, that definitely, police, they have not helped some of these issues most times. If and only if that Wike is trying to use his position as the FCT minister to ensure that Anyanwu and his colleagues have meeting over there where the majority of PDP faithfuls wanted to also have their inauguration the same day. It says a lot. It says a lot. And
which faction announced their meeting first? As much as there shouldn't be any factionality in the first place. But yesterday we were still on air here when we cited that news of the Anyanwu faction fixing a meeting, right? But Turaki said they were supposed to have the inaugural meeting.
Now let's explain this. INEC has told us that they recognize Omar Damagun, and Damagun has handed over power. So INEC hasn't told us the person handed over power to, if they recognize the person or not. But that's subject for another day. And situation where you have minority trying to take ownership of the party, because for me, Wike and Anyanwu, they are dramatists. They are in the minority. I listened to Anyanwu yesterday. I listened to his statements yesterday, where he was saying that he cannot be expelled by the party members, that he cannot, what it means that he's above the party. That is one.
But he said it's on the grounds of the convention being illegal.
And he has his right, but these things are matter before the court. The concern is he was told that he has been acting or doing anti-party activity. He said no, that he has been in PDP since 2000, that he has never left PDP, that most of these people who are doing this, Anyanwu, whom the Southeast Caucus put aside and brought in Udokoye, he was really not in tune with that. You contested primaries for governorship election in Imo State, and the constitution says before you do that, you must resign your position and do that. And you said for the fact that somebody ABC did not resign when they did it, you cannot do it. So trying to use past or use something that has been assumed to be a culture to superimpose on the provisions of the law, that is insanity for me. The law is explicit in some of these things. For the fact that some people did it and got away with it does not justify or validate it when you do it. And most times, if you listen to them, they will just give instances where somebody did this or did that, and that is why they're doing what they're doing. Does that justify it? Is that the provision of the law? Is that the standpoint of the law? Sometimes they argue empty. Their arguments are full of rhetorics. But that is by the way. My concern is Turaki, the new, whether you like it, factional or new national chairman of the PDP, as the case is, he met the wrong person. You can't just go and meet FCT commissioner over. You may meet him, but he takes orders. He takes orders. As we speak now, the weaker factions, they are converging.
They've already converged.
They are making, but they are just minor. They are few. They are just few.
Even if they are just few, in the words of Anyanwu, as this morning he said, the police officials are there to deal with any intruders. We all know who the intruders are in this case. And the big question at this point would be, what does the law say? Especially regarding the use of that plaza.
Definitely, if there is a conflicting orders, what police does will be to take over the place to avoid breakdown of the law.
One uses
that is what police should do, but police is not doing that. So what it means that police is taking side. When this faction, they say they want to have their inauguration today. The other faction says they are having a BOT meeting and NEC meeting, and having claims and counterclaim. Naturally, police will take over the place. The idea of taking over the place is to make sure there is no breakdown of law and order. But where police allow one side to use it and ensure that they are protected is purely taking side, which is not the kind of democracy we are talking about.
So what do you expect?
I don't know.
What are your projections?
The thing is, the police will be there because definitely they will deploy more tanks and they will deploy this. The point is, this is illegality. Wike should not use his position as the FCT minister to undermine partisan politics or party politics in PDP. There was a time he revoked the license and then that place was shut over payment of certain things and all that. But I am just as I'm aware, PDP has 2 houses in Abuja. They have this one, Wadata, and there's another one they have. So if these people could also use the other one, but the point remains that having that meeting at the conference hall, the next conference hall of PDP, does not also confer legitimacy on what Wike and Daniel is doing. It does not confer legitimacy.
And you think there is also legitimacy in what the Turaki faction is doing?
But if you look at it, you must look at the president. Look at the president. The president is, before now, Omar Damagun is undisputed acting national chairman. And they fixed convention, which Wike never wanted. Because he felt that if they go on with that convention, definitely his men will be shortchanged. They will not have strong hold on the leadership of the party to call who goes in and who comes out. They want to be the decider of whoever contests anything under PDP come 2027. That is why the battle is so fierce. That is one. And if you look at the line of succession of Damagun to Turaki, it in fact confers more legitimacy. Because nobody disputed Damagun being the national chairman and all that. Different court cases over that seems to have been resolved. Now he has handed over power to somebody else. What they are contending is that they couldn't have had such convention where they had it. So, but you can challenge that in court. So, if I may ask to Wike, who is their own national chairman? Who is their own national chairman? You bring one Abdurazak Abubakar. Who is Abdurrahman Abubakar, who you have made your national chairman? Where does he belong? What was his line of succession? And then you made somebody, you made Mao or Ohabunwa, the BOT chairman. On what ground? You will now designate and appropriate position to people. Because if you look at the people that had the convention, they had their positions from their last elected conventions, which they handed over to the next leaders. But in the case of Wike, your new national chairman is unknown. Nobody knows where you bring him or where you picked him, handpicked him, or where you brought him from. And then the secretary, okay, let's assume he was one of those who were elected. Then their positions, they don't even make up every position. There are some positions in their camp that are even empty. They are shopping for who they will make one thing or the other. Is that how to run a political party?
Okay, that's not how to run a political party. What do you make of the brawl between Godfather, former president Olusegun Obasanjo, and his, what do I call him now, prodigal godson, Fayose?
In fact, I saw the text message Fayose wrote, SMX, which is now viral. I wish I'm going to read it. Fayose sent to Obasanjo after attending his...
After Obasanjo attended his birthday.
After Obasanjo attended his 65th birthday party. And remember, Obasanjo never wanted to attend. Obasanjo never wanted to attend. It was our own brother, Osita Shidoka, that Fayose sent to Leo Obasanjo to attend his.
So technically, Fayose invited him.
Fayose invited him. And Obasanjo, in that very speech, because Obasanjo made a speech at that very ceremony. And in that speech, he also acknowledged that Osita Shidoka had come to meet him, and he said he was sent by Fayose to come and invite him. And even when he wanted to object, he felt that it is a period of reconciliation. Now, he went and he made some remarks which did not go well with Fayose, and Fayose had this SMS to Obasanjo. Let me read it because it's everywhere now. Because Obasanjo 8 was the one that published it. Good evening, ex-president Obasanjo. I hope you and your family are well. I'm trying to see if, there are so many messages, sent. I just want to read the very one that was sent by Fayose after Obasanjo attended his 65th birthday ceremony. So that's the one I want to read, because there are so many text messages that I've just seen now, but that's not the ones I'm actually looking at. But the one I'm looking at, Fayose disparaged Obasanjo. He used tirades. He used unprintable words. He called him a madman. He called him that he belongs to the zoo. I wanted to, get it exactly the way he wrote it and the response Obasanjo gave. I don't know if you could also see if you can get it so that it will give context to whatever we are saying. But it is interesting to know that with these two people, they have been more like, bad, would I say bad father and bad son? I don't know what to call it, but let me, take you back to the origin of their problem. That was when Obasanjo was trying to consolidate the entire southwestern state, because immediately after the 1999 election, we saw AD taking over almost every southwestern state. Because I know very well that Adebayo Adefarati was the governor of Ondo State. I think he died about 2007. You have Lam Adesina, who was governor for your state. Bisi Akonde, who was governor for Osun State. Olusegun Oshoba, who was governor for Ogun State. Niyi Adebayo, who was governor of Ekiti State. And Bisi Akonde, I think our president now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was governor of Lagos State. These were the governors, and they were all elected under AD. But Obasanjo felt that he needed to consolidate Southwest. And they remember 2003 election was one of the worst elections we have ever had. Obasanjo handpicked people to displace these AD governors. And he handpicked Olagunsoye Oyinola to replace Bisi Akonde. He handpicked Rachidi Ladoja to replace Lam Adesina. He handpicked Olusegun Agagu to replace Adefarati. He handpicked Wenga Daniel to replace Olusegun Oshoba. He also handpicked Ayodele Fayoche to replace Niyi Adebayo in Ekiti State. So and then in all of these people he handpicked, none of them gave him headache. It was Fayoche that gave him headache. And it all started with Fayoche's impeachment sometime around October 2006, and then eventual pronouncement of state of emergency around 19th of October 2006. That had never gone well with Fayoche. And in that birthday, Obasanjo made some jabs. For me, those jabs were very unnecessary, because why Fayoche had invited you was a way to reconcile. Maybe people may have spoken to him the need for him to reconcile with Obasanjo. But Obasanjo came there in his usual manner. You know, Obasanjo, one thing you must not take away from him, is a man of humor. He likes making humorous statements, throwing jabs. And I must let you know that Fayoche never loved any of those jabs Obasanjo threw at him.
Could he have forgiven?
Possibly, I don't know. If you look at some of the things Obasanjo joked about, Obasanjo, in fact, said, let me quote him. Some people called me and said, we heard you are going to Fayoche's birthday. Can't you remember that he abused you? And I said, thank you for reminding me. That's one of the quotes. On their relationship, you are not, Obasanjo said in that very birthday, he told Fayoche before him, you are not the best of my political children, but you have made achievements that must not be ignored. Obasanjo went further to say, Fayoche, you sent intermediaries, Osita Chidoka, rather than approaching me direct. But anyway, it's no problem. And he scolded Fayoche and his wife privately. And he told Fayoche and his wife, I told your madam, he was reporting what he told Fayoche's wife during the birthday celebration. And he said, I told your wife, madam, you and your husband are not Omoluabi. Omoluabi in Yoruba means well behaved in Yoruba culture. Omoluabi. She admitted and said, Baba, you are right, please forgive us. And then Obasanjo went further to say, you have asked for forgiveness, and as far as I'm concerned, you are forgiven, but the right lessons must be learnt. And then Obasanjo referenced mourning with those who mourn, and also rejoice with those who rejoice. He ought for you to go and sin no more. Mend fences with others you have offended, and forgive those who also wronged you. But Fayoche went back. He couldn't sit well with those statements Obasanjo made during his 65th birthday. And Fayoche now, in SMS, he said, thank you. That's what he titled the SMS. Thank you, Baba. And he went further to say that Obasanjo, you are very responsible. He accused him of dementia. In fact, he used strong insults on Obasanjo. In essence, the aide to Obasanjo released the SMS. I wanted to read it here, but I cannot cite it. But the most important thing is that
we don't have the time, actually.
Obasanjo responded and said, you are unchanged and unchangeable. Fayoche in that SMS demanded Obasanjo returns his money. And I learned the money in question was 10 million donation he made as a governor of Ekiti State for Obasanjo Presidential Library. Remember, he said that Obasanjo taxed every governor of PDP extraction at that point to make 10 million donation, that he would want that money back. And Obasanjo in that SMS responded and telling Fayoche, your money has been, refunded. And he told Fayoche who he had given the money to return to him. So in all of this, you find out that the issue stems from what happened. And Obasanjo said, how I met you. You were giving water to Ekiti people. Because Fayoche had Spotless Hotel in Ekiti. There's a hotel he has, Spotless Hotel in Ekiti. And Fayoche was in the habit of giving free water, using tankers to give people free water. And Obasanjo said in that bed that caught his eyes. That how could such a man in Ekiti state be distributing water to different households and homes and all that? That was what made him to handpick him to run for the governor of Ekiti state, to displace Ni Adebayo. But Obasanjo said in all of the people that he had molded as political sons, that Fayoche seems to be different, giving him
possible
problem.
That he's the one who refused to be back. We need to go on a commercial break. But you know how it is with godfathers and godsons, the ones they cannot put in their armpit, like VDM and Mr. Jollof or MC Jollof.
If not,
it becomes the bad child.
What actually pained Fayoche so well was how he was removed from office. The impeachment, remember, he was impeached.
Sadly,
and then the state of emergency was imposed. Tunji Olori was the sole administrator who handed over to Segun Oni. So I followed their matter religiously. It's issue of father and son, but the language Fayoche used in that XMX, calling him that he belongs to the zoo, that he's irresponsible, that he has dementia, that he's a madman, and everything he said because of the jabs Obasanjo threw at that very birthday ceremony, and also demanding his 10 million be given back to him. I don't want to tell you about Obanikoro case where Kakash was lifted for prosecution of his 2014 governorship election. Remember, he came back for the second term after Supreme Court and nullified that impeachment that happened in 2006 by the State House of Assembly, and how the Office of National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki, how they brought him money to prosecute Fayoche's election to make sure that he was installed to displace Fayoche Fayemi, who was the governor that the appeal court returned in 2010 after nullifying Segun Oni's election. So there are so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about.
Really happened. But we attend to some commercials. Once we come back, we'll be ready to feel your pulse. Keep it locked.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203. With Best Aluminium, you're investing in peace of mind, in beauty, and in the future of your home. Because when it comes to roofing, the best choice is always Best Aluminium MFG Limited. Tomorrow's technology today.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Mama, Papa, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, and in town, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside CPS, Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are.
You're listening to Udala Radio.